Oh man, that's not good.
One second, I'm waiting for word from Willamette Fall Studios. Looks like I think we're good to go.
Kendall, are we having some technical difficulty?
We're doing something a little bit different with Willamette Falls Studios live streaming. We normally live stream to YouTube. So I'm just making sure we have the okay to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like we're live on their web feed.
So let's go, Troy.
Okay, we will get started. Welcome to this edition of PRAC. We have October, what is it, the 27th, right? October 27th, currently 7 p.m. And as always, we'll start with introductions. As they appear on my screen, as I call your name, just wave so the public knows who you are. Tim West, member of PRAC.
Hello.
Ken Worcester. Brent Haverkamp.
Right here.
And I am your chair, Troy Bollinger. And next item of business as part of our introductions is we have two new members of PRAC, and I will introduce them to you. Actually, I'll just tell you their name and I'll let them introduce themselves to you. Just remember, this is public and recorded, so keep that in mind when you share some information. But if you just take maybe even just 10 or 15 seconds to tell us a little bit about you. Emily Lisborg, she's joining us as a new member of PRAC. Emily, you got something to tell us about yourself?
Hi, I'm a recent resident of Oregon City. I moved here 2 years ago. I live in Rivercrest, and I've got 2 dogs, a baby, and I love to garden.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm glad you're with us. Tim Lainart. Did I say that right? Lainart?
Lainart, you got it right, Troy.
Lainart, you have to emphasize. All right. Why don't you share something with us?
Hi, guys. My name is Tim Lainart. Outside Parks and Rec Committee, I work with the Oregon Military Department. I help manage their facilities across the state of Oregon. Lived here for 2 or 3 years. I've got 2 young kids under 5 myself, and I too love to garden. Put that out there.
Look at that. Now, just so everybody's aware, Emily and Tim interviewed with us about a month ago, and we recommended they be accepted as members of PRAC. We made that recommendation to the mayor, Denise McGriff. Kendall, the information that I got did not include which one is taking which term. So if you could just share that with us so it's on record and the public knows when the term ends for each of them, because they are taking over other people's positions.
Yes. So Timothy Leinhardt, his term expires at the end of December of this year. Emily Lisborg, her term expires December 31st of 2023.
Okay, so, and that's because, just so everybody knows, that's because they took over the terms that were already in place. And so they just finish out those terms. And then we made the recommendation for both to be on PRAC, and we left it up to the mayor to place them in the different positions that she chose. So that's how that came about. My personal recommendation is, Tim, unless something really goes wrong by the end of December, we hope you will apply again to start a new 3-year term at the beginning of January. And if I'm not mistaken, Kendall, that application process is open right now. So might be a good idea for you to fill out that application right now, Tim, so we can consider you by the end of the year for the beginning of 2023.
I'll get that completed this week. I saw the mayor's decision on that, so I'll make sure to get that in this week.
And then Emily, yours of course ends, like we said, 2023. If you want to reapply, we encourage that, and then that would start a new 3-year term at that point. So perfect. Thank you both for that. Now we move to the approval of the minutes, and I'm going to do these. Well, we can discuss them as one. We will need to vote on them as separate, but just as one, we can go and discuss them together would be totally fine. That's the approval of the minutes for the work session, which was when we did the interviews for Tim and Emily, and then the approval of the meeting minutes on that same day, just thereafter, right after that. So any questions, items of clarification, discussion on either of those two? And if you're going to make a motion, please make a motion separate. We need separate motions on those and separate seconds on those. That's where we go. Any discussion or questions? Okay, any motion?
The motion is to approve both Tim and Emily, and I submit that. Is that what you're looking for, Troy?
No. We only need a motion, and since you've made it, I'm now going to let you withdraw it if you choose to. The only thing we're asking for motions is what's on our agenda, which is the approval of the minutes for the work session and the minutes for the meeting. So if you want to stick to that, we'll have to follow through, or you can withdraw.
I'll withdraw that. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the last one.
Which minute? Which one are you approving? Remember, I said we need 2 different motions on those.
The work session. How about that?
All right. We have a second on that one.
I'll second.
All right. Motion on the other one. I'm sorry. That was a motion by Tim, second by Ken for the work session minutes. We have a motion on the minutes for the meeting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay, so just for clarification, because we do have new folks here, even if you were not present at either of those, you may still vote because you have had a chance to review them and you're present at this meeting. So if you're a member of PRAC at the time and weren't there, or if you were not a member of PRAC at the time and were not there, because you've had a chance to review them and are present today, you may vote. And the voting options are yay or nay, or if you really feel you need to, you can abstain. But you are entitled to vote, and that's okay to do so. Kendall, you want to poll?
All right. Andy Crump, Brent Haberkamp.
Given what Troy just said, I was not present at the last meeting, but I will approve because I reviewed them. Aye.
Timothy Leinhardt,
Aye.
Troy Bollinger,
Aye.
Emily Lisborg,
Aye.
Tim West,
Aye.
Joey Knopf, Steve Williams, Ken Worcester.
Yes.
Ayes have it.
And the second motion? First one was that was for the work session. We have the second motion for the minutes, and honestly, we probably should have voted on one before we made the other, but since they're made and seconded, we can go ahead and move forward. So Kendall, do you want to pull for the meeting minutes?
Okay. Andy Crump, Brent Haverkamp,
Again, not present, but voting for an aye vote.
Timothy Leinhardt,
Aye. Aye. Sorry.
Troy Bollinger,
Aye.
Emily Lisborg,
Aye.
Tim West,
Aye.
Joey Knopf, Steve Williams, and Ken Worcester.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. Thank you all for that. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Kendall, you've made me aware of one. Do we have any others since then, or just the one?
Just the one.
Okay. So we have one member of the community that's put in a request to comment. Samantha Wolf, and I'm going to make a couple of comments first. It's not entirely directed to you, Samantha, but it does apply a little bit, just because we do have some new folks here. Samantha, as a member of the community, speaking about really any topic. I mean, the citizens could come in and share anything that they like to share, even if it's not on the agenda. Each person that shares gets 3 minutes uninterrupted. So we are here just to listen to what Samantha wants to share with us. And then it's not a time for discussion. So Samantha, that doesn't mean we're not going to follow up with you on things, but it just means this is not a meeting for a discussion. So when Samantha's done, we move on. There's not time for questions or comments about what she said. However, that can happen later in the agenda as a future agenda item. If anyone from the public brings up something that a member of PRAC feels is important to discuss, then that would be under future agenda items later in the agenda, and then it can be placed on the agenda at a later date for a discussion, or potentially we can also follow up offline with any citizen that makes a request. We just don't have that discussion here. So, Kendall, are you in a position to time? Do you want me to time?
I can time.
Okay, Samantha, we're not going to mute you and kick you off in 3 minutes, but please try to stay within your 3 minutes, and it's all you.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Hello, I am Samantha Wolf. I am also I'm the vice chair of the Natural Resources Committee. So I share similar interests in alignment with the city's natural resources. And I wanted to speak to you today about the Oregon City Peace Tree, which I hope many of you are familiar with. It's a tree that was planted at the end of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center. And it was a part of a larger state initiative to plant these peace trees that are the offspring of trees that survived the Hiroshima bombing in Japan. And in 2019, Oregon Community Trees, which is the nonprofit I serve on as a statewide nonprofit, sprouted these seeds that came all the way from Japan. They were sprouted in Talent and then germinated and grown up. And then with OCT, Oregon Community Trees, and or ODF, or Oregon Department of Forestry's Urban and Community Forestry Assistance Program, in partnership together, we helped spread the word that these peace trees are available to cities, Tree City USAs in Oregon. And as a part of that, Oregon City signed up, asked to receive a tree, and they got one. And it's doing pretty well. And that, I think it was planted in early 2020. And to receive a peace tree, Oregon City signs a covenant with ODF and OCT that they will follow certain steps and requirements, not only to maintain the tree well and make sure it's available to the public, but also to have appropriate signage so people know what the tree is about, have a dedication ceremony. as well as other steps that are included in the covenant. So right now, there has not been a dedication ceremony. There is no signage, as far as I know. I haven't checked on it since October 10th. And there's also some maintenance issues that need to occur. So my goal today is to present to you a number of support options. I am well connected with a number of folks at ODF, as well as members of the Japanese American community that participated in other peace tree dedication ceremonies across the state. And I've spoken to the state forester, Cal Mukumoto, who said he personally would love to attend the Oregon City dedication event. So I wanted to propose support with PRAC to develop a strategy of a Arbor Day / peace tree dedication event, whatever makes the most sense, for April. So April is Arbor Month, and sometime in that would be convenient to also do the peace tree dedication. It could be any time, but it just makes sense to me to just two birds, one stone. I sent my notes to Emily, who also serves on the NRC with me, and she's got all my suggestions. But that's my time. But thank you for listening.
Samantha, thank you. I appreciate. I always enjoy when the citizens show up and share their information with us. So I really appreciate you being here. Like I said, not time for discussion right now, but you certainly made a proposal. Sounds like Emily's got some things which we can deal with or address. And if anybody else wants to bring that up for future agenda items, we can later on tonight. So thank you, Samantha, for being with us. We appreciate it. Next item is we're moving into general business. The first item of business on there is resignation of PRAC Chair. I just saw this on there today. I didn't even know about it. No, I'm kidding. Totally joking. Kendall, I saw that look on your face. You're like, what? No, it's true. I am resigning. My term, and this is a lot of this, I'm probably telling more than I need to, but just because we do have some new folks, term of the chair lasts a year, and that would end for me this year. We are going to have elections again in January. So that part ends. However, my term for PRAC, this is my second term. I'll be finishing my 5th year, so I am cutting short my second 3-year term. So I am resigning effective December 31st of this year. So I will finish out the year. I'll be here at the next meeting. I'll help facilitate the interviews for the new PRAC members, which include a number of open positions, including my own. And then I will not be attending January. Tim, as our vice chair, will facilitate the January meeting, at which point the voting will take place for a new chair and a new vice chair, and then the gavel will be handed figuratively, I guess, since we're Zoom, the gavel will be handed at that time. So I am resigning, but I am here to finish the end of the year. I just figured I'd tell you today instead of waiting till our January meeting, which made more sense. So any questions or comments on that are appropriate or welcome, and then we will move on. Okay.
I have a question, Tim, Troy, sorry.
Go ahead.
What about other PRAC chair position, or not PRAC chair, but PRAC positions that will be coming vacant in the year 2023?
Can you share those with us? Who is vacating their position? And I know there's different, we've got Tim's, we've got mine. Those are different than just terms being up, but can you tell us what each of those are?
Technically, we'll have 4 positions if you include Troy's resignation. Andy's position, Brent's, your position, Timothy, and then Troy's resignation. So we'd have 4 positions to fill.
That's a few.
Yes. Do we currently have any applications?
We do. We have 2 applicants as of today.
And one of those is not Tim Lanehart's, but he said he's going to get his in. So that would, if I'm intentionally putting the pressure on you, but I'm also, I think, making a fair assumption that your intent was not to serve for 2 months. So I would assume that we're going to get that application as well. So 3 applications for 4 positions. And then, of course, Brent is expected to stay on. So really, that's 3 applications for 3 positions. We should be in good shape.
Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong.
All right. Any other questions or comments on that?
No, but thank you for doing the math there. Appreciate it.
I've enjoyed serving with all of you. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. I'll, of course, stick around. I'll be doing other assignments in the community, so you'll certainly be able to find me, but I'll just be moving on from PRAC. So thank you all for the time. Now we're going to hear about the I-205 expansion project. We're going to get an update on that from Jonathan Hutchinson. Jonathan.
Good evening.
It's all you.
Okay, well, I'm with HDR, an engineering firm that is working on the I-205 improvements project. And Alan Hindy from Oregon DOT is going to actually give the presentation. He is the resident engineer for the first phase of the I-205 project. So, Alan, are you on?
Hey, I'm here. Everyone see me okay?
We can see you.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna before I jump into we got some slides to share. I'm gonna share a quick video. This is hot off the presses. We've got a media group that's been putting some stuff together, some footage. So they sent this to me and want me to share it. So I am gonna see if I can get this to work. First off, I've never used Zoom for the audio as far as sharing audio for a video.
Well, we can see the video, so that's a good first step.
Well, that's good. That's good. There's a soundtrack that goes with it. That's kind of cool. That's what I was hoping for, but let's see.
If you just hit the arrow, does that do it, or you have to do something else?
I think I can hit just play, but I don't know if you'll hear it or not. So
well,
we'll see.
It looks like your volume might be down. I don't know if that's going to affect what we hear or if that's just on your end, but.
All right, we'll see. I'm going to hit play. We'll let it roll.
All right.
Can you guys hear it? All right, sorry I couldn't get the audio. It's got a really fun soundtrack with it too, but so I'm Alan Hindy, resident engineer with ODOT. I think I've met with this group before, but I wanted to do a quick update. We were asked to do an update on the progress of the project. Jonathan, do you got the slides?
Yes. 1 second, please.
All right. Are you gonna?
Okay. Do you see the slides?
Yeah, I can see them. Do you want to put it in presentation mode? That'd be great. There, Jonathan.
Bottom right button.
Yeah, bottom right, over by the Zoom. Yep, right there.
Okay, what am I doing wrong here? Bottom right.
That's it.
That's the button.
Are you seeing the, are you seeing?
No, it's fine. I can go through. I can go through it this way. No
All
worries. All right. So, all right. So back in July, we held a groundbreaking celebration. I think some of this group was there. I know there were several folks from the Public Works Department at Oregon City. We had elected officials from West Lynn there as well. But it was a fun gathering we did down at Clackamette Park to kind of celebrate the start of this project. We'd already started prior to that, we'd been getting stuff going and trying to get out there working to try to hit the ground running. But we held this groundbreaking celebration in July. Was anybody from this group in attendance there? I'm not sure if they were or not. All right, next slide. So this is the first phase of a three-phase project, or actually it's the second phase. The first phase was some message boards and some of the VMS signs we put up a couple years ago. This is the first this is what we're calling phase 1A. It's the first phase of improvements. And I think everybody knows we're well into construction at this point. And this project is going to widen the Abernathy Bridge from West Lynn across to Oregon City. It's going to reconfigure the ramps, all the ramps that are over at Oregon 99. That whole interchange will be reconfigured. Clackamette Drive also gets reconfigured as part of this project, along with John Storm Park. I think a lot of you have probably noticed we've got the park closed, and Kiewit, our contractor, is utilizing it right now to stage equipment and to start mobilizing some of the larger equipment to start some of the work around some of the piers that are next to the river there. And we're also reconfiguring the interchange over on the Oregon 43 side and installing a roundabout. You can see that here in this slide. We'll be removing the northbound ramp that goes across the Abernathy. And that turn movement will go into a roundabout, which then will get onto its own lane across the bridge and over to 99. So that will hopefully help improve some of the traffic congestion that we're seeing there. So some of the current work activities that we're doing, if anybody's driven by anytime in the last couple of weeks, I'm sure you're starting to see the skeleton and the frame of the temporary work bridges kind of starting to come out of the water. These are work bridges that will be supporting a lot of the large equipment. Most of the equipment that you see kind of right now on the side of Highway 99 that's been working on some of the shafts and work there will be transitioning out to the river. All of that work in the river was really critical that we get done. We're coming up on our window here at the end of October as far as pile driving and getting some of that work done. And so you'll see over the next couple of months, you'll see some of the support beams going on those piles that you see out in the water, and some decking, and that will support the equipment as we start working on the foundations for the piers that are out in the river for the bridge. The picture in the middle, can you go back? The picture in the middle, you can see this is a pretty exciting element of this project. The foundations for the bridge are going to be on the largest drilled shafts that are in North America so far. And the piece of equipment that we're using, which we've named Oscar, is a giant oscillator that finally arrived here in September from Germany. And you can see the claw grab there. That's a big 12-foot claw grab as well. And so these shafts are about 240 feet deep and 12 foot 3 inches in diameter. So we got to dig those down, and that's what's going to hold the bridge up in a big seismic event. And so that's why they're so massive. The other pictures, the top right, you can see some of the barges and cranes. So on any day, we've got anywhere from 4 to 6 barges out on the water with 2 cranes and some digging equipment as well. Those barges are going to be reconfigured here over this next month to accommodate some of the drilling equipment, the blue Malcolm equipment that you see on the side of the road right now. And that will be transitioning out to the water to start some of the work out in the water. All right, next slide. So these are some of the interchange improvements that I mentioned were going to be occurring on the Oregon City side. We'll be building a new multi-use path kind of through Clackamette Drive in the John Storm Park area. We're going to be adding new sidewalk and ADA ramps over by kind of a little traffic circle next between the Best Western and Clackamette Drive. And then we'll be improving, as I mentioned, we'll be reconfiguring all ramps that come from 205 to 99 and providing a new sidewalk on the north side as well as some intersection improvements with signal timing and some signage. So those are really the focus of the improvements that are on the Oregon City side. And then, of course, there's the bridge widening that will be occurring as well. Next slide. Oh, that's it. Quick and easy. So any questions?
So if any members of PRAC have a question, please raise your hand. For Tim and Emily, you can either physically raise your hand or you can use little hand raise on your Zoom. Either one is totally fine. And I try to go in order that the hands are raised the best I can, but sometimes the screens switch around on me, so please bear with me if I skip over, but I'll make sure everyone gets called for sure. Tim West, you had your hand up?
Yes. That oscillator sounds like a huge tool, and it's interesting to know it's one of a few in the world here. So how many of those 12-foot holes are you going to dig, and how long does it take to get down to 240 feet?
Well, that's a great question. So we've got to dig. So where they're set, where the machine was set up right now, like over this last 2 weeks or so, that's what we call Pier 2. And so as we work our way across the river, all the piers from Pier 2 to Pier 7, which are all the piers across the river, they all get the 12-foot diameter holes that are 240 feet deep. Once we work our way out of the water and up kind of the hill, going up the hill on Westland side, the shafts and the foundations change in size. But there's 10 12-foot diameters. And then as soon as we get out of the water, they switch to 10-foot diameters. So we've got 10 of those to drill, one on each side of the bridge, obviously. As far as time, it takes about, once we actually get all the equipment and everything mobilized on top of the hole, it takes about a week and a half to actually excavate. And then at the bottom of these holes, we have to actually move that giant machine and all that equipment off and move on another machine, which if you've driven by in the last 2 days, you'll notice there's a new machine sitting on the hole that's in between Clackamette and 99. And that's a rock drill. And so at the bottom of these shafts, there's what we call a rock socket. And so we actually have to drill into the hard bedrock anywhere from 6 to 10 feet. And so that requires a different machine, which is equally as impressive and big, but it's not the big oscillator that does that work. So
thank you.
Thank you for that. Ken.
So does all that work have to take place during the July to October work window, or do you get to, I think there's a small window in right at the end of January or around January, but do you get to use that as well, or do you have to try to do all of that in that July to October window?
Well, that's a great question, and that's something we've been meeting almost daily on with the different permitting agencies. So the actual pile driving, so all the steel piles that you see in the water that are going to support the temporary work bridges, those are driven in with what's called an impact hammer. Mm-hmm. And they're started with a vibratory hammer. And so all those piles and the pile driving operation itself had to be done between July 15th and October 15th. We've got an extension on our permit for this first season to the end of December, but that doesn't include pile driving. So that includes all the other work except for pile driving. So right now we're operating under a extension to October 31st to finish the piles that are outside the water, but still kind of in the sensitive areas. And so all the work in the water, as far as the drilling of the shafts, does have to occur between now and the end of the year. However, we are going to be doing some biological studies and some hydroacoustic studies, with some of the state biologists through ODFW to collect data when we actually start oscillating in the shafts in the water to see if there's any sound effects in the water that could impact any of the species that they're interested in. So we don't know what the answer to that's going to be, if we're going to be able to go longer. But right now we're going to work through December, and then our next window doesn't open up again until next July. And so we'll be doing a lot of other stuff on the periphery of the project between the end of the year and July if we don't get any extensions. But we're hopeful that by collecting some of this data and meeting with all these different groups that we'll be able to get some sort of extension. Because you're right, there has been extensions in January and in February elsewhere on the Willamette, and so we're hopeful that we can work under those same sort of conditions as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Brent, sure.
Hey, Alan, great presentation. I live in Park Place, not far from the Home Depot, so I hear those pile drivers all the time. I go across the I-205 bridge almost daily, and I've seen that oscillator. It is an impressive piece of equipment. You guys have a project scheduled. I don't know what room for wiggle room you have to, what's on the critical path or not, but what are your two biggest risks right now to your project schedule slipping?
Our two biggest risks right now would be our permit windows and not getting any extensions. I mean, we've had some pretty big risks kind of already come to fruition. Getting that oscillator from Germany was a challenge, and so that's already kind of impacted the schedule quite a bit. We've also, one of the big risks that and hopefully we've worked through most of it, but a lot of the pile work in the river also got delayed a little bit because of we found a bunch of logs, and there's a bunch of buried old construction material from the original bridge.
Oh, wow.
That caused the contractor a lot of headaches trying to get everything started. And so we've already worked through those. So moving forward, it's really going to be about whether or not we hit any more sort of underground obstructions that we, don't know that are there. And then the drilled shafts. Obviously, these drilled shafts are massive. They're high risk. And once we get out on the water with this equipment, on those work bridges, there's a lot of risk out there as well. So we're hopeful. And then obviously there's Mother Nature, flooding, high water, all of those are going to come into play here over the next few months when we're out there. So those are I would say what the biggest risks are for the next this next season. We've still got a lot of bigger risk, out in 2024. And there's other elements of this project that I didn't necessarily get into today, but that are coming down, out in 2024 that have a lot of risks to them as well. So,
can you elaborate or not?
Well, there's a lot of structure. Once we get out of the water, there's a lot of big, steel and concrete members that have to get, that all have to fit in together. And if anybody's ever remodeled a house, you know how difficult that can be to make new things match up to old things. And that's essentially what we're doing here. Yeah, that's essentially what we're doing here is remodeling this bridge and trying to make all this new stuff fit onto the old one. And so there's a lot of risk once we get into that phase of the project as well. So.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alan. I appreciate your candor.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments for Alan? I have a couple. Brent, I didn't realize you heard it way over there, way over Park Place. I I'm near the library, and about 6 a.m. I hear those things going in, and it wakes me up sometimes. But at least it reminds me the work is moving forward, right, Alan? We're working. So if I ever wonder if someone's shown up on the job, it means I didn't hear anything. So that's probably a good thing. A couple things for you, Alan, that I think, because this is recorded and going out to the public, I think is really important that we get out there. Number one, what is and I know you hate this number because it's so far out and there's lots of risks, but what's the projected completion date of this project?
Right now, the projected completion date is, we're still looking at the end of 2025.
Okay, so December, at the very, very end. Okay. And then the second thing is, I know the answer to this question, but I want you to be able to answer it because I want it on record for the public. Does this project have anything to do with or include the toll issue that we're dealing with?
I knew that question was going to come up, and I'm going to defer that question to a later date when we've got a project team right now working really hard on the tolling program, and they're working through the environmental assessment phase of it, and they will have more information available to the public soon. But I'm going to defer that answer right now.
And I would, and the reason I bring that up is a couple of things. We're pushing really, really hard in Oregon City against the tolls. We are, and I don't say we in the sense that I speak for the city, because I do not. But there are a number of people I know, a number of our commissioners are speaking against it. And so the sooner you can give us that kind of an answer, or any kind of an answer, even if it's not definitive, would be helpful, because I will tell you, as I speak to people in the community about the expansion and about, the construction, the traffic, everything that goes with any kind of a project, inevitably, even if I don't mention it, they have a bad taste in their mouth of what's going on down there right now, because they believe it's all in preparation to bring the tolls. And so if the answer to that question is absolutely not, we may do the tolls, we may not, but it's a separate piece of the project, that would be helpful, so that the city has, and I say the citizens of the city, not the city staff, I know they get, different reports and whatnot, but the community, it'd be very, very helpful for the community to know exactly what that entails. Because right now, and again, I'm not speaking for anybody but myself and sharing, community members' conversations that I've had, it's a negative feeling about what's going on there because they believe the tolls is all part of the same project. So anything we can do to clear that up, either for the positive or the negative, just to be clear, would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, understood. And believe me, we want nothing more, as a state agency than to be able to be clear with our communication and transparent. Right now, I can tell you that that's a separate project and a separate team and in a separate environmental document than what I'm here to present tonight with regards to the bridge work that's happening right now. And so, as I said earlier, I'll defer that to that team when they're ready. And they are, believe me, I know they know the feedback that some of the communities are having. And they'll be out talking.
And the answer you gave right there, it really does answer my question, because you said it's a separate project, a separate team, which tells me that currently it's not part of what you are doing, not to suggest it may not be a part of it at some point. But, and that's kind of what I want to be clear about is they are separate projects that at some point may be merged, even though many of us here would disagree and disapprove of that. But so that's helpful. Even just what you gave is helpful. Tim West, you had some more comments?
Hey, Alan, that was a good answer. It was a political answer, and that tolling is way above pay grade right now, and I'm sure it's being discussed everywhere in the state, not just at the construction site. My question, really quick and simple, is what are your working hours here? So when do you start, and when do you quit making noise every day?
That's a great question. Well, as far as we're trying to operate under the noise ordinances. Both, Oregon City has one and Westland has one. From the pile driving perspective, we've been trying to operate between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. That obviously is all coming to a halt here real quick. in the next few days, as far as that loud operation goes. Everything else though is kind of, sometimes we've been working double shifts. We've got a lot of night work. We're out there tonight working right now tonight. A lot of the night work on the interstate itself doesn't start till 10 p.m. And so I don't have a good answer for you as far as what's our working hours, because they kind of vary. It depends on if we're up on 205, if we're down on the ramps, if we're on Oregon 99. But we have been working a lot of double shifts, which are typically from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then the late shift comes in and takes over and works from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. A lot of that work has been focused on because the piles and all of this stuff is so big and so kind of deep. They can only put in so much during a shift, and then the night shift comes in and welds on the next section so that the day shift is ready to keep going. So that'll likely continue to occur throughout the project. But any of the loud activities are supposed to be done pile driving at 8, and then any other loud activities are supposed to be wrapped up by 10 p.m.
Thank you.
Brent, you had another question or comment?
Yeah, actually, Troy, this is for you. Since you brought this up and it is a matter of public record, can you specify what tolls you are talking about exactly?
Oh, yeah, the toll that across the Abernathy Bridge, the stretch, any stretch of 205 that affects Oregon City, so in the area specifically.
Okay, not any tolls between Oregon and Washington?
No, I mean, and I can't imagine that this project would have anything to do with that. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, and that's a good question because tolls are being talked about across the whole state. But yeah, the ones that Oregon City commissioners and other citizens are opposed to are the ones for the 205 stretch between Oregon City and West Lynn. And with this construction happening, people that maybe haven't read deep enough or missed something are looking at this and saying, oh, they're building this, they're putting toll bridges in. That's why they're tearing this up. And it's like, so I want to just be clear that this is a separate project from that.
Thank you, Trey. Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay. Alan, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'm sure we'll hear more from you in the future, but appreciate all your time tonight.
Yeah, thanks for giving us the opportunity to come and share. So have a great evening, and I'm sure I'll see y'all soon in the future.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're going to get a report on the Abernathy Creek Park and Singer Creek Park Trail project. Kendall, I don't see Tom. Does he have a replacement?
So it looks like Willow and Doug are going to be a part of this presentation.
Yes.
Okay. Willow and Doug. We're going to turn the time over to you and to give us a report. Thank you.
Cool. Okay.
Willow has asked me to make an introduction. She's going to be speaking of specific projects on Abernathy Creek Park and also on Singer Park, ones that we've completed and ones that we will be dealing with. I wanted to make an introduction for the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council. Greater Oregon City Watershed Council covers streams that flow directly into the Willamette between Clackamette River and Molalla River. We are not associated with the rivers themselves. The major ones are Abernathy Creek and also the Parrot Creek, Beaver Creek system that flows into the Willamette River above the falls. Abernathy Creek, I think most people are familiar with it here, flows below the falls. Now, the Watershed Council has existed for some time. The one project the one place I wanted to talk about is Abernathy Creek Park. It is a city-owned park. We've gotten funding through the Oregon City Metro Enhancement Grant to do projects on that. One of them completed on Abernathy Creek Park, another one that will include Cedar Creek Park next year. Now, Abernathy Creek Park may not be known to a lot of you. It is a if you're on Abernathy Road, there's a John Adams comes off of that. It only runs out of a block towards the south side of the creek, and that's where that park is located. Back in 1996, that area was flooded. BEMA was granted money to the county to actually assist them in moving their county shops along Abernathy Road. They chose not to use those funds, and it went to the city. And the city bought, I think, a total of 5 houses and either a large shed or a small barn that was located at those places, took them down and created a small open space nature park. And we've been working on that area. And I'm going to go ahead and ask Willow then to go ahead and talk about the projects that we've had there that we've just completed with the assistance of the Metro Enhancement Grant and one that we'll be working on in Singer Creek. So Willow, you want to take over?
Yes, hi. First, I just want to introduce myself. So I'm the Confluence AmeriCorps member serving with the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council. So my role is the Community Outreach Coordinator. And I've been with the Watershed Council for a little under a year now. I started last January. So yeah, this presentation is about Abernathy Creek Park and the new Singer Creek Park Trail project that's starting this year. And there we go. So I'm going to go over first what happened at Abernathy last year. So this was last year's AmeriCorps member, Derek Palmer. This was kind of his project that he managed. So we picked Abernathy Creek Park because some of the things that Doug said, it has important fish-bearing tributary, and it's a great place to go and have like educational opportunities there. There's a steep grade, so the access is great. And this is like a little draft that he made of the proposed trail. So trail placement considerations, Abernathy Creek is pretty flashy. So the trail was kind of moved higher up so that visitors could appreciate the differences without having to compromise any of the safety or the trail integrity. We completed some plantings, some native plantings in April of 2022. They planted over 150 new native plants, along with completing a survey of the already established native plant populations at the park. And then kind of the last step here was the final touches. The trail itself was hand trenched and then filled in with cedar mulch. We chose cedar mulch because of its water retention. It's a weed inhibitor, and cedar is also long lasting. And so it helps with maintenance over time. And then the picture in the middle is actually from our informal trail opening that we had. And that's Doug and Derek and Tom and I. And that was in June. And then kind of phasing into what this year's enhancement grant is funding is for the watering and maintenance at Abernathy Creek. So this is a picture of the youth crews from Rivers of Life watering only a few weeks ago. And we chose to have the plants watered a few times because of the particular drought conditions that we've been in for the last few years. And that also helps the survivability of the new plants. And we also heavily mulched these native plants because similar with the trail, it helps with water retention, especially if we're going to be continuing years of drought. And then kind of transitioning over into what is going to be happening at Singer Creek Park. So my role this year is also to kind of manage this park restoration. So our primary objectives are the removal of invasive species, planting of native trees and shrubs, and then with the removal, we'll be releasing kind of the existing native plants to continue to grow freely. And this is all through the lens of community engagement. So we'll have volunteer opportunities for the community to get involved. And this photo is a good representation of what I'm talking about with, we've got nipplewort over here in the red kind of covering up that native red elderberry and that native bracken fern. And then we also have English ivy. So we'd be like, taking these out and then just helping to continue the native plants that already exist there. So our timeline is on board AmeriCorps. That is myself. That happened this past September. We're in the phase of doing our invasive species removal volunteer events. We had one last month. We're going to have two. We had one this month. We're going to have two more coming in November. Native plantings and during planting season, and then a few more outreach events in the spring. We'll have continued maintenance of the sites, and that includes what's been happening at Abernathy, and that'll continue to happen at Singer Creek. And then that exit report for the enhancement grant is due on June 30th, 2023. So this is my proposed project site. And I kind of wanted to give a shout out to Oregon City Web Maps because it's been a great tool for me to use. And I think it's a tool that more people maybe should use. It's great. So I picked this area for a few reasons. So you can see that Singer Creek runs right through, and there's like kind of an unnamed tributary. And I don't know if you're familiar with Singer Creek Park, but this is the area where the trail kind of dips down, and you're able to see kind of both of the creeks. So there's accessibility to the creek, accessibility for volunteers to get to the riparian areas, and then also visibility for park goers to see new plants, to see people in their community working. And also there is quite a bit of a heavy invasive plant population there. So it'd be great to get that out and get natives in. So this is kind of the action plan going forth, is doing the survey, the removal, the planting plan, and then planting in winter with our primary project site, and then the secondary if we have the capacity to expand out into that secondary portion. And this is an example of the native plant survey that I will be doing this year. This was done last year at Abernathy Creek Park. So these are all the individual native plants that already existed. So the survey will be kind of copied and done this year as well. This is from our October 8th Ivy Pool. This is kind of an example of the community involvement that we're looking for. We partnered with the Eleyville and Rivercrest neighborhood associations to have this Ivy Pool. It was really successful. I don't know if you can see all of the bins that we filled with ivy and holly, but it was a great event. And that's kind of what we're looking for with community involvement. So our upcoming events, we have one November 5th and one November 19th, I believe. And so our next steps are to finalize the MOU, my project site proposal, and then continuing to engage with the community and have volunteer recruitment and our native plant survey. And that is it. So if you have any questions or discussion questions.
Willow, thank you. Doug as well. Does anybody have any questions or comments about Willow's presentation?
I do. This is Brent.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Emily.
We're going to go to Emily first. She raised her hand, but Brent, we will come to you next.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Willow and Doug, Derek, Tom, for your work at both of these parks. I've had the opportunity to visit Abernathy since the plants went in, and it looks fantastic. It's really nice to see all those native plants going in. It smells really good. The cedar mulch also, in addition to its excellent water retentive properties, smells excellent. And yeah, thank you also to Oregon City Parks for just collaborating on that, and because it is public land, just allowing that to happen. I guess questions. I was wondering if there's plans for signage to go up at either location. I don't know.
You've been talking to Doug Neely. Doug's always about the signage, right, Doug?
Yeah, it seems like such a great signage opportunity. And Willow, your presentation was so nice with all those infographics. Like it'd be cool to see that at the park as well. And I don't know if that's in the plans, but yeah, just a general question, I guess.
Yeah. I am open to it. I love signage. I don't know about the specific details for like my timeline as an AmeriCorps member. I'm here for a brief amount of time, but that is definitely something that I am kind of rooting for and hoping that we can get done some signage at least. I know there will be signage like when we are out working and when we are like out representing the Watershed Council. There's always signage there, but for long term, I don't have an answer. No.
I can make a comment about signage if I may. We have actually put signage on our major stream crossings in Oregon City. I'm going to hold this shirt up.
Oh yeah, I recognize those. I love the lampreys on them.
And those actually we put up thanks to Public Works. They install it for free. We purchased the signage through the county shops, but Public Works has installed those for free. A couple of other comments. One, where we have had discussions of putting little signs on some of the plantings that we have in terms of identifying the species, tree species. The other thing I wanted to comment is Abernathy Creek Park itself. We've taken that on not because it's a great habitat restore program in terms of spawning and rearing, but it's one of the few places that you will be able to get to Abernathy Creek Park. It's going primarily through rural areas, forested areas. The only place you'll be able to see it is if you jumped out of your car on a bridge. And this is a great place to see Abernathy Creek, and that's one of the reasons we've really emphasized it. The other thing I wanted to mention was Jonathan Waverly has been a great partner. We wouldn't have been able to do these kinds of things without him. I think he's on this video thing, and he is a great asset to the city, and I want to make sure that I emphasize that. Thank you.
Thank you both for that. Emily, thank you for your questions. Brent, you had questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. Great presentation, Willow. I really loved your slide that showed the native species from above and, that dotted them out and everything. I thought that was really, really good. And I'd love to see more of those throughout like Oregon City to know where the native species are and everything.
Absolutely.
That's a project in and of itself. But the only thing I wanted when I was listening to this and watching this, so I'm a runner and I love to trail run mostly. And I was out running with my dog and I came across Abernathy Creek Park. And again, this comes back to the signage. We could use a lot more. It definitely needs to be out there because I didn't really know it was Abernathy Creek Park until, obviously Abernathy Creek is there, but it's just not really well located or with a sign or anything. When I was out running with my dog, I was so excited because there was this trail. And then as I was running on the trail, we got to the end of it. It's so short. I'm just wondering, is there any way we can expand that trail or make it a little longer and incorporate more of the park and the native species and the educational aspects of it?
Yes. So that is something that we are considering if we have extra time and budget at the spring, essentially. That's something that we've considered talking about. That's why we have it labeled as phase 1 for the trail, because the idea is for it to have it extend out. Because right now it feels a little bit abrupt, but definitely that should be worse.
But Doug is right. I mean, you get to see Abernathy Creek up close and personal. That's the closest I've been to it. It's fascinating. It is a unique force of nature in and of itself. I just wish there was more to it.
I want to comment, if I might. There actually foresight on the part of Public Works at the time, but there's There's the parking lot on the other side of the creek associated with the Abernathy Center, and I think some of you are familiar with that. The city actually has an easement going through that. They have a potential footbridge actually going across the creek. Now that would take quite an investment to do something like that, and we're not in a position to do that. But you're right in terms of actually having a sign that actually shows the name of that park, and we should probably have a discussion there with Mr. Reed about that, because almost all the other parks have a city sign. The signage we have done, of course, are the signs that we have paid for and so forth. But you're quite right on that. We need a sign on Abernathy Creek Park itself.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. Any other questions or comments for Willow or Doug? Emily, another one? Yep.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious. Like, I know a lot of the prep work that you do is removing of invasive species, and I guess I'm wondering long term, like, is that something that like Oregon City Watershed Council is going to be managing long term, or like presumably at some point those plants will be, like the blackberry and the ivy will be growing back? Is that what is the long term pest management strategy for these areas? I don't know if that's a question for Parks Department, or I don't know who does that. But.
Let me comment on Abernathy Creek Park. We've had several volunteer activities that are going on that will continue to go on for invasive removal. This is probably the greatest state we have had. But we find out when clematis was a major problem there, we've got much of that under control. What we find out is, as soon as you control one invasive, another one takes over. But we've had reed canary grass problems, we've had blackberry problems, but we are actually pretty much on top of that in terms of volunteer activities, which we will continue to support.
That's really great to hear. Thank you. I guess just following up on that, I know that like the last meeting or the meeting before, the mayor's monarch pledge was discussed, and well, it's not the time of year where we see monarchs. There is an abundance of woolly bears out and consuming foliage right now. They're the larva of the tiger moth, a species that feeds a lot of our native birds. And I guess I'm wondering if, I guess this would be a question for Kendall or John, if you want to speak to this, what kind of maintenance the Parks Department is doing on these parks currently or in the future, and how that's integrated with like volunteer activities, and like what the kind of like monthly maintenance looks like for you all.
John, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Monthly maintenance. Right now, pretty much a lot of our maintenance time and hours are spent on graffiti and vandalism in our parks. Obviously we've partnered with the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council on this. This park site, the main level of maintenance would be, mowing of the grass, and garbage pickup. It's fairly small park. So that and invasive removals. So that would be where most of our time is spent at this park site.
And just a, I guess, a follow-up question. Is this like an area that is currently being like sprayed with pesticides, or what is the kind of like pest management strategy for that?
Well, I think like what Doug was telling you is that a lot of it is through volunteer work. We do use pesticides in not down by the creek. It would have to be up on the upper level of the stream, but yes.
Can I respond there?
Yes,
we actually hire contractors to come in when we do an initial invasive removal. And those contractors, after their invasive removal, have actually done plantings for us. They've done a very good job. There's only 2 pesticides that are approved in the basically in the floodplains that can be used. They are regarded, some people refer to them fish friendly. I would suggest that it's not the best word for it, but the fact is there's no evidence it does fit and affect fish survival. And those are the only two pesticides that are permitted. Don't ask me their names, but we bring in professionals to do that kind of work under the grants that we have received.
And is that, I guess I'm just wondering if those are consistent with what is being sprayed currently, like in the maintenance that the parks does, or?
Yes.
Cool, thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Willow and Doug.
Thank you.
We are now moving on to our Pioneer Center holiday update. Kathy is even on video with us tonight, so she's going to go ahead and share that with us.
Thank you, Troy. Because the holidays are a really busy time here at the Pioneer Center, Kendall thought it would be nice for me to give PRAC an update. We do this just sort of just without thought, and when you sit down and look at it, it's a really nice thing for our community to participate in, and it means a lot, especially to our seniors. So I was really glad that he asked me to do this. So currently, of course, we all know Halloween's right around the corner. So for Halloween, and the senior center typically decorates for the holidays because that's really positive for people to come in and see what's going on and how we're going to provide some extra activities around these holidays. So Halloween, today we had our Halloween bingo. And generally we try and get some sponsors to provide extra gift cards and giveaways. We have food treats and some trivia in addition to our bingo, so it makes it kind of fun. On Halloween, we actually have a costume party, and it's always surprising how many people will actually dress up. And we've got gift basket giveaways, a holiday-themed meal, and often we'll have a movie and trivia for just to extend the party. We do have a projector. We can show movies. We've had some pretty good success with that. So it just depends on sort of what the community is feeling like. So this year they're more into the party and dressing up. And next, of course, is Veterans Day, and we try and do something around veterans, celebrating veterans, or a memorial for veterans. We've had people bring in memorabilia and have a veteran come and talk about the different experiences they've had. We've had folks from the college who've done some history with veterans during wartime experiences, and that's always been pretty positive. We like people to learn something and remember our veterans, and so this year we're doing a veterans support, kind of like a fair. So if a veteran wants to come in, especially younger folks who are qualifying for services, we're happy to help them understand what's available to them. But with Thanksgiving fast on its heels, there we go. Thank you. Was that you, Kendall? I don't know who did that because I'm terrible with this stuff. So yes, there's our part of our slideshow. We've also got, so these are just some of the things in addition to some recreation stuff. We've got some diamond and fine jewelry presentation. It's not really holiday themed unless you're asking for that for Christmas. So that could be a Santa thing. We do a Seas fundraiser, and we also do a Christmas wreath fundraiser. These are ways that the community can support our Meals on Wheels. And it's a nice way the community comes in. So like our Christmas wreath fundraiser, we have volunteers that make all the bows, and then we have the Christmas wreaths available. They're fresh out of a local farm. And we have hot cocoa and candy canes, and it's a way to also meet the staff and talk about Meals on Wheels and how the community can support that really essential function. So there's our November newsletter. So again, Thanksgiving's right around the corner. So we've got a Thanksgiving themed bingo. I'm trying to talk someone to dress up as a turkey. So far, that's not been really positive with the staff, so I'll probably have to do it myself. But we have a Thanksgiving meal, hot meal served here prior to that Thursday. We're closed on that Thursday for Thanksgiving, but we do a Thanksgiving meal and we make sure we've got all the side fixings and the turkey and extra special desserts. And it's always very well attended. We also partner with St. John's Church, which is right across the street from us. So on Thanksgiving, they send out to our Meals on Wheels clients that are home, not at family. So if they're home and they want a meal, generally myself and staff will come in and volunteer with the church to make sure those meals are delivered. Then we've got an anonymous donor that provides 10 turkey dinners. So it's a turkey and all the things that go with that. So families, and these are typically younger families, needy younger families that need that meal support. And sometimes we have to be extra thoughtful. Sometimes people don't have even a pan to cook it in. So we try and figure out what the needs are and we get them those pieces that they need to cook and serve a turkey in their home. And if someone is, really struggling during those holidays, we try and hook them up with a support family that can either reach out to them or invite them over for a meal, because the holidays can be difficult, especially if you're alone. So we try and make sure at least to reach out to people we know that need a little bit of support. So then we round up on Christmas, and that's a biggie. We do the wreath sales and the Seas candies, which is great support. We also do a giving tree, and historically we've done we've done both Meals on Wheels and a local family. This year we're concentrating on our Meals on Wheels. We have a significant number of new clients on Meals on Wheels, so we'll be supporting them and their families. A lot of times our Meals on Wheels clients have multiple generations living with them. So they're often pretty low income with grandkids living there or great grandkids. So we're not only supporting that Meals on Wheels clients, we're helping to support the family members that live there. So we reach out to Clackamette Social Services for toys for the kids. We wrap those and get those out with the holiday gifts that we collect for Meals on Wheels. So we collect the gifts, we wrap those and get those out to our clients. And that giving tree, I always am amazed at how generous this community is. The last family that we did a giving tree for, it was a young mom, and she had a really serious, debilitating cancer diagnosis. And she had 2 young boys. And she was very concerned. She had to quit work and was concerned. She was past due on her electric bill and didn't have money for kids for Christmas. And this community, it was overwhelming, the generosity. So I'm always really glad to participate in those kinds of activities, because that's really what our holidays and our community center is all about. We also provide a Christmas catered meal for the community, and we pay for that out of our donation funds. And so seniors get a Christmas gift and a gift card, and often if we can talk our maintenance specialist Dale into being Santa, he's awesome at it. They get a poinsettia and often music. And it just is a big party, and they come because often that is the only Christmas activity they will have to be engaged in. We also have some evening trips. So we take our 14 passenger vans, and this year we're going to the Grotto. And I think they're going to Sailor's Old Country Kitchen, which is always popular. And then the additional trip is through PIR. So a lot of seniors don't drive at night. So this is an opportunity that they get out at night. They get to go out for dinner, and we've done zoo lights, just anything you can think of, Christmas-wise. The Christmas ships, we sort of rotate those through, and they're very popular, and they fill up very quickly. We also have a Three Rivers Art Guild co-sponsored Christmas holiday art show. And that lasts 3 days, and that's the first weekend in December. And you can come and also support Meals on Wheels while Christmas shopping from our local artists. And then we, of course, have a big New Year's bash, and that starts off the new year for us. So those are the holiday things we do. But in addition to those things that are holiday focused, there's some timing of things that happen because it's winter and fall. So we also provide low income energy assistance, so that our seniors in our community that are low income can access funds for PGE bills. So it is actually cash that is put on their bill as a credit to help them pay for their energy. It's open enrollment for Medicare, so we've got that support here. You can change your Medicare program this time of year. It's a limited time, and so we have counselors that help people choose the appropriate healthcare plan for them. And it closes in December. We help a lot of families this time of year with long-term care planning, because with the holidays, you go and you visit grandma or mom and you see the conditions. You know, sometimes people's health can turn quickly, so they need to come in and get some long-term care assistance. And so we have folks that can help them through making those difficult choices as well. We've also had a COVID clinic, and we hope to have another one. These are shots, not giving you COVID. It's hoping to prevent COVID. That was a joke. You guys are all sleeping. And just a reminder that COVID is still here. It is still active in our community. I got notified today that there's a long-term care facility that has closed its door again, so everybody's in lockdown. So it's still circling. So wash your hands, and if you're sick, stay home. And if we have a clinic, come in and see us and get your shot. So that's my plug to keep you healthy. So we're also sending out, we try and send out early emergency meals. So Meals on Wheels will have backup meals in case of a really bad snow incident, and make sure we have staff take home lists of clients. So if we have to call, if we can't get in, we are able to contact clients and make sure that family is there to at least pick them up, or that we have some kind of emergency assistance to make sure they're okay. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And welcome, Tim and Emily. And thank you, Troy, for all your hard work with PRAC. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathy. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Kathy about her? Let's limit it to just the report that she gave now. Later, we'll be able to ask questions. Even about the holiday program.
Troy, your volume is going in and out.
How about this?
Much better.
I gotta sit closer to my screen. So Emily, please, will you? You just muted yourself. I think you thought you unmuted yourself, but you're...
I'm sorry. I couldn't actually hear anything you said. That's why I was raising my hand.
Dang it.
Hear anything that Kathy said?
Oh, I heard Kathy. I just didn't hear what you said.
Oh,
and I was raising my hand.
No.
Yeah.
What I said is there any questions or comments for Kathy in her report? And then if so, let's limit it to the holiday update, because we'll have staff reports later as well.
No, sorry.
Okay. No, that's fine. I appreciate you saying something. I'm sitting back in my chair paying attention and didn't realize that you can hear me. So, Brent, please.
Yeah, Kathy, great report out. Thank you very much. I love all the work that you do at the Pioneer Center, and I love all these report outs and knowing what's going on. I just wanted to say bravo and kudos to you for the COVID work that you're doing with the plugs as well. COVID is still here, guys. During this whole pandemic, I just got COVID for the first time 2 months ago. So it's still here. Get your boosters, wear a mask, stop the spread. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. And I appreciate you very much for always taking an interest in us, Brett. It's really appreciated.
Absolutely, Kathy. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions for Kathy about her report here? Well, good. You know, hearing all the fun you got going on the holidays, I'm kind of disappointed I'm not old enough to participate. But I'm really
Santa.
Hey, this is a public meeting. Let's no fat jokes, okay? But I am glad that some of our members get to attend. They're old enough to do so. Kendall, you guys need to go. You know,
Troy, you can always volunteer.
but I don't drive at night, Kendall, so I can't get there.
But you can walk across the street.
Stop it.
See, there's downsides for knowing where I live. So, all right, moving on. Kendall, you're going to take a little bit of time with to make an introduction for us for our new facilities manager, and then when you're done with that, why don't you just go right into your staff reports?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I am very excited to introduce our very new first ever facility manager, Kyle Christoph. Kyle started with us this Monday. So he's fresh. He knows everything by today. So please pepper him with questions. But seriously, we're extremely excited to have Kyle. He's worked with the city of Portland in various roles with asset management. He was a facility director for the Portland Children's Museum. We're very happy to have him. And we're very excited to have him be a part of our team. Kyle?
Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for the nice welcome. I'm excited to be here. It's been a big week for me already, and I'm looking forward to more.
Thanks, Kyle. So, update will be lengthy. First off, I want to provide an update on our Parks Master Plan. Our online survey closed on October 10th. For our Parks Master Plan, we had over 150 people take that survey. We also received the results from our statistically valid survey on September 26th, and we were able to review those results with our consultant this past Friday on October 21st. We also completed our organizational culture survey assessment that took place from October 17th to October 21st. We're working on our level of service inventory. We're doing our recreation program assessment and benchmarking of other agencies. And we are planning on providing an update to the City Commission on November 16th. And then we will have the consultants come to PRAC at the December 1st meeting to also provide an update. Our next public engagement meeting is going to be scheduled for December 5th at City Hall at 6 p.m. We are currently getting the marketing out for that meeting, but we're really excited about the information that's been shared with us so far. And we're really excited about bringing that information back to PRAC and the City Commission for an update in regards to where we are. Brent?
Hey, Kendall, thank you. Thank you for the report out. Back to Kyle and his introduction, I was wondering if you could help me to understand what is the difference between Kyle's role and John's role.
So John is in charge of parks. So Kyle will be in charge of all of the facilities for the city. So the 12 facilities, 320,000 square feet, he would be providing support for the entire city. That would also include parks.
Okay.
So just to give a little bit of background of the facility staff that we had and currently have, for the longest time, Denise Conrad, the Assistant Parks and Recreation Director, managed 2 FTEs for 2 facility maintenance specialists. And then we had a half-time FTE that focused primarily on the pool. One of the things that we realized and have realized for a long time, there's a need to create our own facilities division in helping maintain the facilities, to address deferred maintenance, to do some long-term planning and strategy development to address the deferred maintenance. So this is the first step that we're taking in creating that division, and Kyle will be leading that charge.
Thank you, Kendall. And you mentioned 12 facilities. Can you mention what some of those facilities would be? That would be under Kyle's charge? Uh-oh, I think Kendall froze up.
Yeah, tough question, Brett.
Yeah, he's frozen. Hi, Kyle. Thanks for jumping on.
I was going to say, I can fill in. Oh, there he is.
Can you?
Yeah, but so the facilities would be City Hall, the swimming
volume is going out.
The senior center, the library, first
Not as volume.
community development.
We have some
police
IT
station.
packets that aren't being met.
I don't understand a word he's saying, but it sounds cool.
Hey, can anybody hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. All right.
Kendall.
So like John was saying, the City Hall, the Pioneer Center, aquatics facilities, into the Oregon Trail, all those facilities will be in the charge of Kyle and the facility maintenance staff.
Thank you, Kendall, very much. I appreciate that clarification.
Prior to this, Kendall, was each facility director taking care of their own facility?
No, it was split. It was split between the 2 staff that we currently have. We had 2 facility maintenance specialists, and they reported to Denise, the Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. And then we had a half-time facility maintenance specialist at the pool that reported to the Aquatics and Recreation Manager there.
And do all those 2.5 FTE now report to Kyle?
They do report to Kyle, and we currently have two FTE that report to Kyle, and we're trying to advocate for some additional staff going into the budget season.
And then Assistant Parks Director. Now that those 2 FTE are taken away from that position, does that position change?
It frees up that position.
Okay.
Denise has been heavily involved in all of our construction projects. She will still be involved, but she's been involved in all of our capital projects and with recreation programs as well. So this frees her up a lot to really focus on helping the entire department moving forward and create some margin for her moving forward.
Okay. All right. Looks like Ken has his hand up for you, Kendall.
Ken?
Yeah. So is your facilities, do you have your facilities section is that how all of the maintenance monies and the capital money is budgeted through its own budget, or is that, does each department then budget? I mean, how does facilities
the budget that's a great question, Ken. So each department set aside money in their budget for their capital projects and facilities maintenance. The facilities budget is currently managed by the finance department, and we're trying to make some recommendations to develop an actual facilities budget moving forward for the facilities division so they can more effectively manage that moving forward. But as of right now, all that money is housed in the different budgets for those different department heads.
Okay, thank you.
Emily, would you raise your hand?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what are like the first kind of deferred maintenance projects that you all are looking to tackle?
Actually, Denise provided that presentation just last month to talk about where we are in regards to deferred. It's a long list. So to provide a little backstory, just last year we worked with BVTA to do a deferred maintenance assessment of the entire facility and to the entire city, including all of our facilities and a lot of our parks. So we can understand where we are and what are some of the items that we need to take care of immediately and how we can go about budgeting to take care of the deferred maintenance year over year. So what we've been doing this year is working off of that first year list that Denise shared that shows those projects, that shows what she talked about, what we are currently doing and what we have coming up. So as we go into budget prep, what's coming up in the next couple of months, we'll work off of that deferred maintenance list, work with the department heads. We've already identified capital projects that and capital items that need to be added on or budgeted for, and we will continue to tackle the deferred maintenance. One of our goals as we get through this Parks Master Plan is to have some recommendations in regards to funding associated with deferred maintenance, because that's something definitely we need to pay attention to and address and have a funding mechanism to address the deferred maintenance moving forward.
Thank you.
So Kendall, that's always a hot topic. And it's something that we talk about often, in PRAC. So do you think that the report that Denise provided last month, is that something you could forward to at least Emily and Maynard?
Yep, I'd be happy.
So you guys would get the full report. We do talk about that often. It always comes up. So I'm glad you asked about it. But if you can send that out to them, at least then they'd have that report and kind of catch up a little bit as we go forward with other discussions.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Another update on the Clackamette Park Master Plan. We received some pre-app notes from planning department. We're going through those pre-app notes and we're preparing a proposal to take the master plan through the city's initial land use process. So there'll be more information to provide on that at a later date. Just an update, we talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the meeting in regards to PRAC applicants and interviews. The deadline for application is November 18th. Normally what we do, the meeting in December, which is tentatively scheduled right now for Thursday, December 1st. We do a work session before the regularly scheduled meeting. And that work session is normally scheduled at 6 p.m. To schedule all of the interviews and to then deliberate and make recommendations during the regular meeting that starts at 7. But we'll have some more conversations about that date to make sure that that date works for everyone, because we don't normally have a meeting in the month of November, but just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. We do have 2 applicants, like I said previously, and we do have currently technically 4 vacancies that we will need to fill. Again, welcome the new members, Emily and Tim. We did send them the PRAC bylaws, the updated roster, a welcome letter, and a link to the training that was provided by the city recorder, and a list of all of the city commission goals. Any questions before I turn it over to John?
Did you send them the PRAC goals as well?
I'll double check.
Let's make sure they.
Yeah. All right.
The heads up on that, Tim and Emily. Those will be discussed. That's kind of a moving document where, as they're accomplished, we check them off and we always add. But that will be discussed. Well, probably January. Sometimes we move it to February to start the year off. So you can just review those and come up with some ideas to be ready to discuss it.
Your mic's going out again, Troy.
Did you hear anything I said? Or was I talking to myself?
I heard you.
Okay. Good. Let's move on then again.
Yes, Ken?
Yeah, real quickly, could you send us the updated roster as well? So that
Sure.
we have Emily and Tim's contact?
I'd be happy to.
Great, thank you.
All right. All right, John? All right. Well, like your volume is still out. You might need to hang up and use your phone.
I don't sound like a robot this time.
You still do.
We got some packet loss going
My
on.
volume's out.
No, that's better.
Now you're good.
Hold on. So yeah, just some projects that we've been working on is the Westgood Neighbor Project. We'll be giving a more in-depth project update on this, but it includes improvements at the River Access Trail, which included ADA accessibility improvements, storm damage cleanup, hazard pruning. So that project is reaching its completion, but there's going to be a few more additional items that we'll be doing on that. So stay tuned. The Scattering Canyon project at Mountain View Cemetery, which is a water quality improvement project, is wrapping up some of the final steps on that. So really excited about getting that project finished up before winter time. The Mountain View Cemetery Mausoleum roof repairs. We were just having a few of the last trim pieces put on. TSW Dog Park. We did drainage improvements, additional gate and fence opening, and also turf renovations. Right now, we have mowed that area twice now, and we're waiting to get the third mowing before reopening the dog park. We're also currently working on a cemetery bathroom replacement. So for any of those of you who have been to the cemetery, our restrooms are a little bit lacking. And so we're working to remove our old shop site, the restrooms, and we will be adding a new restroom to that site. Also working with the Oregon City Youth Sports. They had gotten a Metro Enhancement Grant, and we are replacing the infields at Wesley, one of the infields at Wesley Lynn, with AstroTurf so that the kids will be able to play even the wet, muddy springs like this last year. A lot of the games had to be canceled because we had such late rains into the month of June, and the fields were just unplayable. So hopefully this will allow kids to get out there and play a little bit more. Things that you'll be seeing us being active working on this fall, winter. Obviously, there's leaf season and cleaning up, but we also have a lot of tree damage still from the ice storm. We're seeing a lot of effects on a lot of trees in our parks. So we're going to be working with arborists to identify trees that aren't going to be savable, and try to get those replaced as soon as possible. And then an exciting opportunity for everybody is November 12th at Rivercrest Park. The city's going to be teaming up with the Friends of Trees once again. And I was just speaking with them. I think they have scheduled to plant 110 trees this fall. So any of you looking to volunteer or want to go out to that, I know Ken can maybe speak to it. He attended the last Friends of Planting that we had, but that's a really great day, really great event. Chance to get out in the park, meet new people in your community, and plant trees, which we all enjoy. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thanks, John. Melissa?
Good evening. The swimming pool is going to be having their annual swamp swim on Saturday from 6 to 9. It's an annual Halloween event that we do. We will have a bunch of games and activities in the community room, and then we set up the pool deck. We'll dim the lights a little and turn on our colored underwater lights and put some spotlights out that are all Halloween colored and themed. And it'll be really fun. We still have a few spots open for it. We are requiring pre-registration for these events so we can make sure we have adequate lifeguard coverage, just with some of the staffing or problems that we're still running into. We just want to make sure that we don't have to turn anyone away. We have another lifeguard certification class that we'll be offering the weekend of November 11th through the 13th, which is almost full as well. We'll be getting, hopefully, some more certified staff members from that class. We're starting to see we offer an indoor playground for preschool ages on Tuesday and Thursdays from 9:30 to 1:30. And we're starting to get our attendance numbers back up to where it was pre-pandemic. It's been a little slow because we've had a beautiful fall. So many people have been outside at the normal outdoor playgrounds. Now that we had our week of rain this week, it was very busy over at the community room at the pool. We have two high schools that swim at our swimming pool during the high school swim season, and that starts in a couple of weeks. And so we're gearing up for that, and we'll have some schedule changes due to that season. In support of the Monarch Butterfly Pledge, I'm also working on providing an opportunity for the public to come and potentially come to a presentation at the community room and hear about pollinator gardens and provide some takeaway items and potentially some activities for kids to do as well. Which thank you, Emily, for providing information of who could potentially help me with that and some resources. And then in a couple of weeks, we will start putting together our staffing schedule for our next quarter at the swimming pool. And we are starting to look at the month of December at this point, gearing up for our winter break schedule and the winter break camps that we'll be offering. And that's the end of my update.
Thanks, Melissa. Kathy, do you have anything else?
Not really, except just a staffing update. Jamie Davey left. She was our client services coordinator, and stepping into her shoes temporarily is Shirley Ryan, who's our Meals on Wheels coordinator as well. So we've increased some staffing hours in the kitchen to help cover Shirley. But I really want to thank Shirley for stepping in and just literally covering these two critically important positions, especially this time of year. And everyone here is really pulling extra weight to help out. And it's been really great because those are pretty significant positions. And we're glad that they're able to be covered as well as they have been. So Shirley deserves lots of extra hugs and loves this season until we get that position filled. Oh, and I don't know if everybody realizes Justin is not here tonight.
Oh, don't steal my thunder.
Oh, all right. Never mind. Look away. Robot voice there. I'm done.
So I'm not going to put Kyle on the spot because he's only been here for 3 days, but I'm sure he'll have a great update to provide in December. But we're just happy to have him. But as Kathy was saying, Justin is no longer with the city. Justin was my administrative assistant. He had been with us for over a year, had a real passion for recreation, and got a great opportunity in Tiger to become a recreation specialist. We were sad to see him leave, but we were happy that he could move forward in his career. So we are currently recruiting for an administrative assistant for myself. And that concludes the update.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to member reports. Now, member reports are a time for just that, just giving a report. As you'll notice in the agenda, the next item is future agenda items, so we'll be able to bring those forward, but this is not a place for that. Also, for member reports, it's not a requirement to report, so Tim, and we hope you're not panicking, thinking you're supposed to come prepared with something. You don't need to. It's not a requirement. It's just an opportunity for anyone that's participated in an event or noticed something that was happening, can just tell the group, tell the committee, and then of course it gets relayed to the community through, this live, but as well as the recording. So not a time for discussion, not a time to ask questions for the staff, just simply to give a report of something that would be appropriate for Parks and Rec. If you have a report to give, please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order on my screen. And if you don't have a report, again, that's totally fine. You do not need to have one. Brent, go first, please.
You bet. Thanks, Trey. So the report out that I would like to give tonight is I actually had the privilege of running into John yesterday at Park Place Park. I was walking my dog. It was late morning and there's really nobody around, but the parking lot was full, and it was full. It wasn't full, but there was at 50% capacity or greater. And a lot of it was due to Park Place Academy was having school and they don't have any place to park. And as I was walking my dog and I noticed the Oregon City truck roll up, and John got out and most warmly and graciously greeted me. We both noticed the women's bathroom door was open, and which led us to a conversation about vandalism and maintenance. And we talked for about 20 minutes. And Park Place Park is one of those tiny little parks, very small acreage, but it's one of the largest neighborhoods in the Oregon City community. My point tonight in my report out is not to advocate for Park City Park, but the gross lack of funds for maintenance for all of our parks. And I think that we kind of need to start thinking about a different funding structure for our parks. And Kendall, this isn't on you or anything, and I'm not looking for a solution tonight, but my entire time I've been on PRAC, Park City Parks the maintenance is still, it still needs repairs after almost 3 years. And we need to find some solutions for our parks that encompasses not all of our parks, but making certain that we have adequate funding. I don't know what that solution is tonight, but we need to start thinking about how can we properly fund the maintenance for our parks. I don't know what changes need to occur, but there does need to be changes that do need to be made. And that's it.
Brent, thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else have a report to give? Emily, please.
Yeah, so just following up, Sam Wolf, who was talking about the peace tree, had sent me some wonderful notes that she had taken, and she gave a wonderful presentation at the last NRC meeting about the peace tree. So I'm just going to read through her notes. I was also in attendance, but she has them nicely organized. So the city of Gladstone has an excellent example of how their peace tree is protected. There's signage around it, and there was a dedicated ceremony, and there's a link that I can send anyone who's interested. The City of Gladstone has an open invitation for anyone on Oregon City committees to check out that tree and to give us a tour. So that might be a fun event if anyone's interested in going. For our tree in Oregon City, there's no signs. The paperwork, the covenant that came with the tree does require signage. All the prefabricated signs for the peace trees from the One Sunny Day initiative have been sold out. So that was a company that had come out with like a sign that you could just click add to cart, and then it was all there. So those are unfortunately no longer available. But a template of the signage is available. And then I don't know the best way of going about getting that, but she had recommended maybe reaching out to the welding fabrication program at Clackamette Community College to see if they could make one. And then she also has a note about all cities that receive a peace tree also receive a free copy of the children's book, When a Peace Tree Blooms. And she has that book, and it's been signed by the author and will eventually go to the Oregon City Library. And the library should be invited to participate in the Arbor Month Peace Tree dedication, and then perhaps bring that book as well and do a reading there, she had recommended. And let's see, the event could potentially feature speakers and presentations. And then she has a list, the Oregon State Forester that she mentioned, Cal Mukamoto, and then representatives from neighboring cities, the Japanese American Society, and local Oregon Heritage Tree Award recipients, and representative from the Forestry Department. Let's see. Oh, and then Dave Hedberg, who is doing a documentary about peace trees. And I can't remember the timing exactly, but if he could coordinate to be here for the event, then he could film it and then potentially include our ceremony in that documentary, which would be kind of cool. Yeah, I think that's just about everything.
Perfect. Thank you, Emily.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed one note. So I guess she had made a note that there appears to be some bark damage on the tree. And then just to make sure that, it's protected until it can be formally kind of dedicated. So yeah, just to make that note.
Okay, thank you very much. Ken?
So just to kind of piggyback on the peace tree thing, it seems like that would be a perfect opportunity for the Arbor Day, for this year's Arbor Day proclamations. And in order to kind of maintain the Tree City USA status, there has to be, Arbor Day events or Arbor events and those types of things. So it seems like that would be a perfect opportunity to kind of kill a couple birds with one nice little event. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, can I interrupt? My hand's raised. I've been trying to get some information out here for the folks.
Yeah, well, so, I kind of passed over you, John, because we're doing our member reports right now.
I understand. I just want to make a clarification that
let me finish our member reports. I'll come right back to you. So Brent, you had your hand up there.
Yeah, and I want to make certain that John gets his due notice, but thank you for clarifying that, Troy. I just want to put out my enthusiasm for the peace tree and piggyback on both Emily's comments and Ken's comments. I think that there's some real great opportunity. I just feel that this is a great opportunity for the Oregon City community to come together in regards to not only this tree, but what it represents. And regarding what with Arbor Day coming up, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to really, I'm really struggling for words, guys. I apologize, but to give this some momentum, and I just want to put out that I feel that it's a very important thing that should not be glossed over and should be given a lot of consideration for the community. That's it.
Thank you. Any other member reports? John, why don't you go ahead?
I guess the reason why I raised my hand is that I wanted to help answer people's questions, so that it didn't continue to lead to more. So when we received the ginkgo biloba tree, it was right around the time of the beginning of the pandemic. So the sheer fact that with everything going on and we were able to get the tree in and planted, it's growing great. The location of the tree has, it was specifically chosen, and we had great plans for a wonderful Arbor Day. I have the sign. The sign was going to be installed as a part of Arbor Day. And we ended up canceling our Arbor Day that year because of COVID. So, not to say that, COVID's been this lingering, looming reason for everything on it, but it was a major factor. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we do have the sign. We will get it installed. We are going to be planning an Arbor Day there. So just know that myself, my staff are going to be doing a lot of work. We do it every year, except for the years of the pandemic. So we'll be looking forward to that and including the community. And hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of you folks out there to help us out with celebrating our birthday. So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. But I've been fielding a lot of questions on this, and I think that most of the questions can be answered pretty easily. So, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, John. Appreciate that. Toward the end there, he's breaking up, but he says if you have any questions, you can contact him, and of course you can go through the city or shoot him an email. So moving on, now we got future agenda items. So again, just raise your hand, and I'll call on you if you have a future agenda item. And if you're not sure where or when it is appropriate, then we can have a little discussion about that and kind of help you figure out if that needs to be an agenda item right away or something later, or maybe just a report given by email. So we can help you with that. But Brent, you had your hand up?
Yep. Just want to put it out for the peace tree.
So what's the actual agenda item you want? You want to discuss what?
Well, I wish I could see Sam's notes, but Sam really seemed to be talking about making certain that that there was signage and a dedication ceremony and maintenance issues. So I think that as an agenda item, Troy, I would like to see this on the agenda as something that we look after.
So I think that's great. Let me say it a little different. You tell me if this satisfies what you're looking for. Okay. This is something that came to my mind. And I'm glad that Sam came to present, because I always love, it's always disappointing when we go and there's no citizen comment and we just move on, right? I love the citizens. At the same time, when it's presented as a citizen comment, we don't really get a chance to ask questions or discuss. We just hear and say thank you and move on. So what if, and if this doesn't satisfy what you're asking for, then certainly don't agree to it. But what if we had Sam come to the next meeting as an agenda item with the presentation, And if she wants to make it similar to what she did tonight, that's fine. And the reason I say that is she had mentioned some proposals in there and some requests, but of course, because of the nature of her, where she was on the agenda tonight, we couldn't address those.
Correct.
So if she comes as an agenda item and brings a report and makes those proposals and requests at the time, then a motion can be drawn to accept those proposals or carry them out. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense, Troy, and thank you for saying that.
Okay, so Kendall, I guess the agenda item is for our December meeting is see if we can get Sam to come. She can do the same presentation if she wants, or she can give us some kind of update, or she can just cut to the chase and say, here's my 2 requests for you, and we can, do short and sweet and do it that way.
Sure. And we had already extended that invitation for the next meeting.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thank you, Troy.
Is that the only one you had, Brent? You're good?
I think so. I do have a question, but I'll save that for the end.
Okay. Ken, agenda item?
Yeah, I think basically kind of this is centered around the park master plan, and I appreciate the fact that we are getting some, I guess we're going to get a presentation from the consultants coming up here pretty soon, but I think if my math's right, that it's over half of the board will be relatively new. And so by the time the year ends, we will have a whole bunch of new members. And I just think there's a lot of background information and that we ought to maybe talk about possibly before we get, after we meet with the consultant, I guess. There's a lot of stuff I know that makes sense that'll go to the city council or the commission first, like the surveys and those types of things. I understand that, we can't really get that information up front, but it would be nice to have as much of this background information and different things like the STC methodology, I think a kind of a schedule of the work plan for the park master plan that then gives us some windows where we know that we'll be able to weigh in and or expect to be visits, because we'll be setting our calendars as well. So copies of the surveys once they're done would be real helpful. If the city has I don't know that you have a CIP per se, but you kind of work off of the deferred maintenance. So I don't know, but just to kind of get a feel for how that all works as you formulate your budget. And I understand that there's the three surveys, I guess now. There's the internal survey, the external statistically valid survey, and then there's a internet survey. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So yeah, it'd be just nice to have some of all of that as background information. Again, mainly just to kind of sit down and talk with all of the new members and with us and just kind of explain what a master plan is, what we hope to gain from doing the master plan, all of those types of things. Because I think, especially with a lot of new members, I think that would be really helpful. So I think it's an agenda item.
So Ken, do you think February might be a good time? And the reason I say that is because the new members, their first meeting is going to be January, and that would be a lot for your first meeting. But also with elections and goals in January, maybe February would be a better time. What do you think?
It might be okay. I think that, it's hard to set goals. I mean, the goal really probably should be fairly straightforward, which is kind of working on the master plan and getting the master plan and getting the committee members ready to go out and help with adoption and all of that.
So you're thinking you might want that information before maybe goals are set so they can be considered.
I would think that would be more of a logical step, and we might not be able to go through all of the information, but I think if we have it as background and then we kind of committed a meeting in January or February to ask, be able to kind of disseminate the information. I think there's a lot of information out there that if people just had an opportunity to kind of just read and understand or not understand, then we could come back and ask Kendall and the consultants to kind of help us understand all of that, so that we kind of have a better idea of really why we're doing a master plan, what we hope to gain from the master plan, and where the PRAC can be the best tool to help get this master plan adopted. Because I think it's not only adopting a master plan, I think you're looking at possible funding recommendations and a lot of those things that we need to kind of start following up on, so that we have a good understanding of what it is, what we're going to be talking to our neighbors about, what we're going to be talking to our neighborhood associations about.
So you're not saying February is too late. You're suggesting that February, that being after the goals, might be too late. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I think that it'd be nice to.
I remember last year, just because of everything going on, we did goals in February.
Mm-hmm.
So what if we did goals and this agenda item in February?
That would probably possibly work, as long as we had some time to, if we could get a lot of information up front. And I think we'll have a lot more questions and answers by the time we get a presentation from the consultants. I mean, I think my understanding would be that we'll just kind of get an update of where they're at. And there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and we don't need to be involved in all of that. But we do need to be able to explain the process as we move through adoption, and what we can do to kind of help make this appear to be more a grassroots plan as opposed to just.
So, Kendall, what are your thoughts on this agenda item and the goals and January, February? Like, where do you think things would be placed best?
Well, you can look at it this way. So December 1st, like the survey information, a lot of the information and a lot of the projects that we're working on currently, all of that information is going to be brought back to PRAC as well, not just the City Commission. So there will be opportunities at that December 1st meeting to really ask some questions, understanding that we will possibly have some new members coming on at a later date. And because with that meeting and another public engagement meeting scheduled in that same month, I think that really will give at least the members that we currently have a clear understanding of what our schedule is, what we're projecting next, what our next steps are going to be able to share some of the information that we've gathered from our surveys and some of the projects that we're currently working on. And they will have an understanding of where we are and where we're trying to get to. What we could do is look at possibly sharing a lot of that information, a lot of these meetings with some of the new members, and then have some conversations about what additional follow-up needs to be brought moving forward going into the next year. So maybe for this group, where you'll have your opportunity to ask a lot of those questions and to talk about next steps and talk about additional follow-up after you get this information, giving you the opportunity to digest that. And then I think we can plan better in regards to what we need to do in the regards of informing people coming on.
So Ken, what are your thoughts about holding, not assigning this anywhere, but holding this until our next meeting? Because then, like Kendall says, we'll get the report, we'll have it. That'll give you an idea if it satisfies what you're looking for. Because keep in mind, next meeting toward the end of the agenda is also new, future agenda items. And at that point, you can propose it for January or February based on what you received, and if that fits what you're wanting.
Yeah, I think that would probably work. I just want to make sure that we all kind of have a good understanding of kind of what's coming up, and with the understanding that, I mean, that first 6 months is basically doing what the consultants have been doing, which is just doing nothing but gathering information. It would just be nice to see some of that raw information that they've gathered, which gives us in turn background information to kind of help understand when recommendations and those types of things start coming forward, we have a better understanding of, kind of the root of that recommendation. And I think that any way we can do it, and I don't want to throw in an extra meetings with consultants and those types of things. I understand the efficiency of them coming out and trying to knock out as much as they can when they're here, and then they go back and do work. It's just that trying to make sure that we as a committee have a clear understanding of the process and the expectations.
So let's do that then. Bring it up again next meeting.
Okay.
So that after we receive that report, you'll have what you need to know, kind of what your recommendation would be. Kendall, can we add that to our future agenda items list? And just so it's on the radar. And since Steve's not here tonight, we can go ahead and put it above Sportscraft landing negotiations.
Sure.
But we'll keep Sportscraft as a close second, because the one that Ken's bringing up will be off the list as soon as we assign it to a meeting date.
Right.
So, all right, perfect. Ken, would you have any other, or is that it?
No, that's it.
Okay, Tim, Wes?
Yep. Hey, Ken, I think that's a great idea. I think that not only should the new members be sent all this information, but everybody else here on the committee, because I think that this involves not only what we're working on as PRAC, but it also goes and revolves around our scope of practice as a PRAC committee. And Kendall, I think that one of the big things would be, gosh, what are the responsibilities of this committee? So that would be also a really good thing to spread to our committee members. The future agenda.
Oh, hang on. You're going too fast for me too. So what's the agenda item you're requesting?
So I was advocating Ken, but here's my idea.
Oh, okay.
All right. So one of the things that we've talked about before is a volunteer coordinator. And I know, Kendall, you were saying that can't afford it, no way, no how. But every single one of your managers are saying, I don't have enough volunteers to go ahead and run the Pioneer Community Center with the Meals on Wheels, with pulling invasives, with park maintenance, with tons of other stuff. I know that not only is it the Park and Recs Committee, but the CIC wants to go ahead and get a volunteer coordinator to work with their neighborhoods. I would say that a volunteer coordinator could go ahead and pay for itself very easily with all the things that need to be done around the city. So is it our job as PRAC members to go ahead and advocate to the city commission that this would pay for itself, or just illustrate?
So let me just interject here, Tim. Remember, this is a time for future agenda items, so we don't want to ask any questions about whose role is to do what the other. But my question for you is, what are you asking to have put on the agenda? To discuss the need for a volunteer coordinator?
Well, this goes to Kendall, because it's like, is this a valid future agenda item? And can this PRAC committee do anything about it?
Okay, so you're wanting the agenda item itself as an opportunity to ask that question and get an answer?
If we can't do it tonight.
We can't do it right now because this is a future agenda item. But yeah. I would suggest, I don't know that we need an agenda item to ask a question and get an answer. I think that's something that Kendall can just shoot us an email and tell us the answer. Be done with it. And now, as far as the advocating piece, we can certainly advocate for it, and we can advocate to City Commission for it. I'm just struggling to understand what you want as the agenda item. Is my point.
Kendall.
There's an update I probably should bring to this conversation. One of the things that would be great, you are aware that we need volunteers. One of the first things you all can do is help us get more volunteers and be part of that volunteer base to help out in these programs. So that's a way where you can provide that level of support. There have been some additional conversations about volunteer coordination and volunteer opportunities with the city commission and the city manager. I don't know if you're aware of some conversations around developing a youth council, but the city manager did bring forward and request a half-time position to help manage the youth council and possibly the volunteer opportunities, manage volunteer opportunities within the city. And that half-time position was approved by the city commission. So that position will report directly to the communications coordinator. Obviously, they're in the process of hiring a communications coordinator, and then I'm assuming that they would then move forward with developing job descriptions for this new individual. But that is something that they're currently discussing as a way to address this need in regards to having volunteer coordination throughout the city. So
Perfect.
Just want to provide that update for all.
I like that, and that's a good reminder. That's part of our role as members of PRAC, is to advocate for the citizens, for the community, in communicating to staff, but it's also to be out in the community and participating. So, Tim, again, I'm struggling to understand what your request for agenda item is. Is that sufficient, or do you need an actual agenda item?
No, I got to take it further in the fact that if indeed we're going to be advocates to volunteer.
Well, hang on, Tim. I'm gonna stop you because we're running kind of late, and I want to continue to remind you this is for future agenda items. So my question is what Kendall provided to you sufficient, or do you want to put something as a future agenda item?
I want a list of volunteer opportunities that people could go ahead and take part in, so that we could go ahead and advocate.
Okay. I think that's something that would be good on a public meeting as well, so that it's broadcast on the screen for not just us, but for other people that want to volunteer.
That's right.
I think that'd be good. Thank you, Tim. Ken, you raised your hand. Did you have another item?
Well, I was just going to say, it might be easier to put it on as an agenda item to just talk about it and then decide whether or not we want to. There's lots of pros and cons, and I would say let's put it on the agenda, on a future agenda to talk about. And take it from there.
And I think starting with opportunities of where to volunteer certainly are going to spark questions of what is this and how and the need and all that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, but staff should weigh in on it. Oh, I was going to say, I think that it would be really nice to have staff's input on kind of the need and how that could be molded to work best, to work along with staff, because there's lots of times where a volunteer coordinator might be going off on a whole different tangent. I don't mean tangent derogatorily, but it does sound like that. But and a lot of times volunteers can actually create work instead of saving work. So it needs to be a very coordinated effort, and I think staff needs to be involved in that as well.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate everyone's input. That was very helpful. Then the next is the meeting. You've heard the date, December. Emily, was that a future agenda item?
Yeah, just real quick. I know we're running late, but another potential future agenda item. Melissa, I know you talked about the pollinator event. I think depending on when that event happens, to discuss either how that event went, just as like an event summary in terms of attendance, what content was presented, if there would be additional events or initiatives offering education on pollinators, and then, or if the event happens, kind of in the spring, maybe to time it with planting. If there's anything we can do as PRAC members to signal boost or otherwise assist in the execution of that event.
So typically on something like that, when it's an event that's upcoming or an event that happens, Melissa would include that in her portion of staff reports. Is that sufficient for you? Because she'll be able to tell how many people attended, how it went, what went on, or are you asking for something different than that?
I think that should be good. But then, just allowing dialogue about that, I guess.
Okay. So Melissa, if you could, when that happens, if you could just let us know how it went, and that'd be great. That'd be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Thank you. You heard the date, December 1st kicked around. So for those that don't know or that don't remember, because of Thanksgiving and Christmas, that messes up our fourth Thursday of the month meeting, both of those holidays. And so what we've done in the past is choose a date between those two, which still accommodates our bylaws of 10 meetings a year. So we usually miss one, like I think it's July or August, and then we take 2 months and combine it to one. So we still get our 10 meetings. The date that we were looking at is December 1st. And if you all look at your calendars, Kendall and I and Justin at the time agreed that would be the absolute best date, because the 8th may be an option, but anything later than that, and we just get too close to the holidays, making it difficult for all of us to attend, but also difficult for any staff or community members that want to attend to be difficult with their schedules too. So is everybody okay with December 1st? That's the absolute best date we can find. I'm seeing 4, including myself, yeses. Brent, does that work for you? December 1?
Yeah,
yes. Tim
that
West,
works.
you good with that? Okay, so we're unanimous, Kendall, with all the PRAC members that are here. So the next meeting will be December 1st, 7 o'clock. And then as Kendall mentioned, we're going to shoot for the work session at 6. And that's where we would interview the other PRAC members or the applicants. But Kendall will let us know for sure, because that's going to be based on a few other factors. But tentatively put 6 p.m. on your calendar for the 1st, and in blood put December 1st at 7 o'clock on your calendar. That one will happen. The 6 o'clock will let you know. I appreciate everyone being willing to do that as well. So with that, 9:27, and meeting is adjourned. Have a good night.